Hello dear students. In this video, we'll be covering part 2 of the chapter Landscape of the Soul written by Nathalie Troberoy. The chapter is mentioned in your book Hornbill. In the previous video, we covered part 1 of the chapter in which we read about the various tales related to the Chinese and Western paintings. Plus, we also studied the differences between both these kinds of paintings, and we understood the concept of shanshui in Chinese paintings. So let's begin with this video. I have taken this slide from the previous video again just to make a connection. So we were discussing about the Taoist view. Taoist view includes shanshui. Shanshui is a style of traditional Chinese paintings that includes natural landscapes. And again, shanshui means mountain and water. Mountain is yang and water is yin. Yang and yin. Yang is male and yin is female. The interaction of both these elements of universe is the Taoist view. So mountain is stable, warm and dry, and water is resting on the earth. It's fluid, it's moist and it's cool. Here I want to elucidate more on yin and yang just to make a better understanding for you people. According to the Chinese philosophy, everything in the universe may be classified as masculine or feminine. Like one thing is male and another is female. So now the masculine entities will be vertical, dry, warm, stable, active, powerful and so on. And the feminine entities will be horizontal, moist, fluid, cool, unstable, receptive, gentle, etc. Now the interaction between these two aspects, these two elements, maintain the balance of the world according to Chinese philosophy. Without one or with the dominance of either, the world shall see chaos. Like the balance is really important between the two elements. And this crucial interaction takes place in what the Chinese call the middle void, the middle empty space. This is called a neutral space where these elements, where these two forces of yin and yang mingle and balance each other. So when one looks at a Chinese landscape, at a Chinese art of work, one also gets a glimpse into this worldview. The mountains represent the masculine elements while the water is feminine because these shanshui paintings include natural landscapes. The white unpainted space in the landscape is the middle void, which enables this balance between these two elements. Taoism concept of creation. Now Tao means the path, and it is the artist who shows the path to the mysterious works of the universe. It is the artist who shows the way through his artwork to the mysterious things, to the mysteries of the universe. Now this creation takes place, the Taoism concept of creation takes place through the interaction of yin and yang. We have already studied that. Yin and yang are the two sources of universal energies. These are the two universal forces. Then comes the third element, middle empty space. We have already talked about it. According to the author, the middle empty space is always overlooked. It is always ignored. But Troberoy says that it is very important. The middle space is very important. Between the feminine yin and masculine yang is the middle void where the interaction takes place. Now it has been compared to pranayam in yoga. As you all know that in pranayam we inhale, we exhale, and we also retain our breath. And when we retain our breath, that is the middle void. The middle void is the suspension of breath where the actual meditation takes place. So that is why the author says middle void is very important. Nothing can happen without it. Middle void is essential to create a balance between the two elements. Hence, the Chinese landscape leaves some white unpainted space, uh, so that the human being can perceive the art in his or her own way. That is why the white unpainted space is left in the Chinese landscapes. So here the man finds a fundamental role. So man, according to the author, is the main means of communication between the two poles of universe, that is heaven and the earth. He is the one who creates the balance. Now this can be best exemplified by the Indian mythological story of Trishanku. Trishanku was a king, and the story has been taken from the Ramayana. So the king wanted to reach heaven in his mortal form, but that was not possible. So he had to settle for a parallel heaven midway between heaven and the earth. So he had to choose that midway, and that midway is the middle void. Thus, in this middle space or middle void, humanity and divinity reach a compromise, and they find a way to connect through this middle void. So this middle void is really helpful for creating a balance. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos, according to Chinese philosophy. Then again, the author says the man is the admirer. He is the eye of the landscape. He gives new meanings, new interpretations through his multiple viewpoints. He gives different directions to the artwork. The Eastern painter does not only paint the landscape of his sight, rather he expresses his beliefs, his thoughts, his vision and his philosophy through his paintings on the canvas. He does not only paint the area or he does not only paint the landscape. Through that landscape, he tries to express his soul. It is not merely a landscape of an area, rather a landscape of his soul. And this justifies the title of the chapter also, that it is the landscape of the soul. The painting is the landscape of the soul, not the landscape of an area only. Next, we have the concept of art brut or outsider art. Basically, this is the art of the uncivilized and untrained artists. The artists who never got any training, but they have extraordinary talent and artistic insight. So this concept was first put forward by French painter Jean Dubuffet in 1940. As I said, this is the art of the untrained artists. So first of all, initially this concept did not have an encouraging beginning, but now it has come to acquire great interest in the present art. Art brut referred to works that were in their raw form, that were in their raw states as regards cultural and artistic influences. Now this art brut included everything that was raw, like from a tin to a sink or even a broken down car that could be used to create some art form. Here I can say Nek Chand is the best example of the outsider art. Why? Because he created a heaven sculpted with recycled material. All of you know that, all of you have visited Rock Garden at Chandigarh. That is the best example of art brut. That is the best example of outsider art created by Nek Chand. Because he was an untutored genius, he was an untrained artist, but he had a great artistical insight. His rock garden sculpture, as you can see in the right hand side bottom picture, Women by the Waterfall, you must have seen it also live. So Women by the Waterfall featured on the anniversary issue cover of the magazine Raw Vision, a UK based magazine who pioneered in outsider art publications, who first started writing about outsider art publications. So he was also honored by the Swiss Commission for UNESCO by way of a European exposition of his works. His works were exhibited. And Nek Chand finds his greatest reward in seeing people walking through his garden and enjoying his creations. He feels that that is his greatest reward, that people enjoy his creation, people enjoy his artistic creations. People appreciate them. So that is his greatest reward. So dear students, this is the end of the chapter, and here is some glossary for you. While reading the chapter, you need to consult this glossary, you need to see this glossary and write down the meanings in your books. So that's all. Thank you and have a nice day.